What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Bulls Latest. Your host, Matt Johnson here. I want to kick off this Tuesday show with a preview of the Bulls' next preseason contest that'll take place tonight in Denver against the Nuggets. That'll take off at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. You could see this game on Chicago Sports Network. Starting off, both teams come into this matchup 2-1. The Nuggets dropped their preseason opener 126-116 before winning the last two games over Toronto, 112 away, and then most recently the Clippers, who they beat 102-94. For the most part, looking over this Denver team and what to expect tonight from them, they have started a five of really the same group: Aaron Gordon, Cam Johnson, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and Cam Braun. That's what we're likely to see from their starting five tonight, most likely. Peyton Watson did get the start in their second contest for them. I do think you're going to see a little bit more of him. I think this Denver team's a fun group. I think that they're going to be a strong team in the Western Conference. Obviously, that addition to Cam Johnson is massive. I think he will take another leap as a player with an organization like Denver. So that'll be a fun contest. Obviously, the Bulls have a lot to look forward to as well in this one, and Bulls fans alike. There's been a lot of positivity through the Bulls' first three contests. A lot of good tune-up situations in terms of the lineups they're putting together and the guys who are getting valuable minutes ahead of the regular season opener. We're very close to that. So kind of looking at this contest from more of a betting standpoint, the Bulls come into this a 5.5-point underdog. The Nuggets, if you want to lay them on the money line, is minus 205. The Bulls are plus 170 on the money line there. The total in this one sits at 233. Looking at this for an angle on, this game for you guys, I looked at the over as probably the strongest play in this one. I expect points to go up in bunches in this matchup, and for both squads to play with pace, really. It's two teams who really like to push the ball. Obviously, a lot of firepower on the Nuggets side with a lot of scoring options. The Bulls have obviously shown to be able to put up a ton of points in majority of their preseason games thus far. They've been consistent in that. Most recently, obviously, they lost to Milwaukee on Sunday night. The Bulls still did look solid offensively, so I don't expect there to be any shortage of offense here in this one. I do lean the Bulls on a side here. I do think the Bulls have the ability to keep this one within the 5.5 points. I think it'll be a somewhat of a closer contest. Obviously, with Milwaukee, they were down 3 points in the final minute there, so kept that thing close, ultimately losing by 6. But I do think the Bulls have enough to keep pace with this Denver team offensively. I think they're going to compete in this one and keep this one close. There's a lot of guys still playing for things with Chicago, and Billy Donovan's really going to use this as another opportunity to see what he has in terms of lineup combinations. There's a few guys too. I think the Bulls are going to have really trying to show out and see what they can bring to the table for Billy. So, I think the Bulls, although Denver is ultimately the more talented team on paper, I think the Bulls will kind of fight in this one and keep this thing close in a higher scoring affair. So we'll see what happens there. Those are my two plays, the over being the strongest. Once again, I do advise a play on the over 233 in this one. Kind of switching gears, I wanted to give you guys important updates to both Coby White and that injury he had. Billy Donovan spoke on that yesterday, as well as Pat Williams. That's not a guy I spoke of much in yesterday's show, but he had a very strong showing against Milwaukee. This guy continues to kind of show positive signs moving into, or as we move towards the regular season. I think Pat Williams has shown a lot of good things in the preseason. But first, starting off with the Coby White update, the plan for him, per Billy Donovan, is the expectation is to be ready for opening night, but he won't play in the preseason, so he won't play tonight or Thursday. I thought he may get some action in, but I'm not surprised. I think it sounds like he's going to be healthy enough to play and start opening night. The Bulls are staying in Denver after tonight's game, so they won't practice tomorrow. There really isn't, and this is what Billy Donovan's words where he spoke to this, there really isn't enough ramp-up time to get Kobe ready for Thursday, so they'll use 5 days before the opener as his ramp-up period in terms of the conditioning and kind of getting him ready to play that opener against Detroit. We're very close to that. So there's an update for you guys on Kobe. He will be good to go, it sounds like, which is exciting. I'm ready to see him start hooping. Big year for Kobe coming off his best year as a Chicago Bull. And then just Pat Williams, I mean, he was spoken very highly of by Billy Donovan in his post-game press conference the other night. Billy spoke to consistency really being the key factor on how much he is going to play. I think if you see a lot of the elements of Pat Williams' game become consistent and the positives taken away from those, I think you're going to see him get more minutes. Billy emphasized that his minutes could change just as anyone's minutes could. Really based on their playing style and what the matchups look like that given night. So, I kind of emphasized this to you guys way back, really in the summer league, but I expect this Bulls team to have a lot of moving pieces. I mean, Zach Collins has shown signs of positivity. Obviously, you got Vooch being one of the veteran cornerstones of this roster, but there are a lot of moving pieces in terms of guys that could be jumping in and out of different lineups for the Bulls. Trey Jones being just another one of those guys. As far as Pat Williams specifically, though, the aggressiveness going to the basket is something that Billy praised of Pat in the last contest against Milwaukee. And he also emphasized that his turnovers need to be cut down. And he really, honed in on a few passes and a few plays that were made by Pat Williams that could be taken away, and he could avoid those traumatic turnovers that really hurt a team. So that's something that when you look at Pat Williams' game, that's something that Billy Donovan's hoping that he cuts down, but he really does like the aggressiveness that he brings to the table. I really hope Pat Williams continues to build off of that side of his game because he has the ability to be a really exciting player in this league. And I think if he stays healthy, you're going to see him contribute to this Bulls roster in that manner. So we'll see how that goes in terms of the contest tonight. I expect Pat Williams to get a bunch of minutes here to continue to try and build off of the last couple of contests that he's played in. Finally, just wrapping up today's show with some rapid-fire Bulls notes here and some bullets. Trey Jones was held out of practice yesterday after jamming his foot. He could play tonight, so we'll have to see on that. I wouldn't advise, just on my take on it, I wouldn't advise the Bulls kind of push him in there if he's not 100% ready. Rather take this week to kind of rest up and get ready for the opener, but we'll see how bad that foot jam was and how crucial that injury is to him. He could be fine, and it could just be a little hiccup there. Kevin Huerter, I know he's been out. I spoke to him in yesterday's episode. He did more yesterday at practice. He's trending to playing again in the preseason. Probably looking at a return to action Thursday night against the Timberwolves. Julian Phillips still out with his little ailment there. I think Julian Phillips is going to be a case of kind of a wait and see about how bad this thing is. It doesn't sound like they're rushing to get him back in there. So that's just a look at some of the injury front and other notes there. Just another bullet of significance. Muhammadu Gueye has been waived. That forward I spoke to, if you guys remember back in the Summer League, he did make it out of the Summer League with a spot on the Bulls roster. The Bulls have finally waived him, so I want to wish the best of luck to Muhammadu Gueye. The Bulls have also signed Kevin Knox. I know this is a day or two old, but Kevin Knox is signed by the Bulls. He is expected to play for the Windy City Bulls to kick off the season. He was a big player in college, so it's kind of interesting to see what his career path is going to look like starting with the Windy City group there. But overall, excited for another matchup tonight with the Denver Nuggets. I think there's a lot of positives to going into this matchup in terms of what we've seen from this Bulls roster thus far in the second to last tune-up before the regular season kicks off next week. Cannot wait for that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you want to play tonight in terms of a betting angle on this Nuggets game? Do you think Coby White is going to be ready to go? What's your opinion on him being held out? Would you rather have him continue to rest? Did you want to see him get some preseason action? What are your thoughts on Pat Williams? I want to see see what Bulls Nation expects from him moving into this season. I'm certainly a lot more optimistic on Pat Williams right now than I was for the majority of the offseason. You guys can probably remember I was pretty skeptical on Pat Williams, just kind of what he brought to the table given his first couple of years here. So overall, thanks again for joining me, guys, on another episode of Bulls Latest today. We will see you tomorrow with a recap of Bulls Nuggets tonight. Thanks again.